We've been joined by Graham Smith from the pressure group Republic, which campaigns for an end to the monarchy. Welcome to the Daily Politics. First of all, though, Nadine Dorries, spending above their means, not making the necessary savings. Is the royal household worth it?
Do you know, I actually felt quite embarrassed listening to Margaret reel off the list of repairs that need doing to the royal buildings that we have not funded as a country, because what the royal family does for us is beyond explanation. They bring in investment, they bring in tourism, they put this little island of England on the world map. They are something that we should be absolutely proud of. I love the royal family, and I'm embarrassed that that 60-year-old boilers in Buckingham Palace are not being repaired, and they have huge heating bills because
do they
we're
not take
not
responsibility?
putting in that investment.
Do they not take responsibility for that themselves? They get an awful lot of money, £31 million.
You know, I think if they decided that they were going to undertake that whole schedule of repairs, that people on this programme and the media would be in uproar at the expenditure. I think we have to take it on the chin. I know lots of people in this country love the royal family. They think they're very worth it, and they have no objection at all with the investment that we need to put into them.
Well, you're on hiding to nothing.
We need to separate two issues. The historic royal buildings, the palaces, belong to the British people, and we have a responsibility to look after them and to maintain them. Clearly, the royal family and the royal household aren't up to that job. It's time for the government to take them off their hands, allow the people that run the Tower of London to maintain all those buildings, open them up to tourists, make them revenue neutral as the Tower of London is, so the taxpayer doesn't have to stump up more cash out of the Treasury. In terms of the other costs of the monarchy, I mean, the actual cost every year of the monarchy to the taxpayer is well over £200 million.
How is it £200 million?
When you include things like the income from the duchies of Cornwall and Lancaster, which belong to the nation but are given to the royal family, the security costs, cost of councils around the country, cost of police forces around the country, and taxes that are unpaid. So it's a very large amount of money, which is equivalent to thousands of nurses or thousands of doctors.
But Nadine Dorries says they're worth it because of the kudos, because of the attractiveness to tourists.
As Nadine said, it's beyond explanation, and it's beyond explanation because it's not true, so there's no evidence to support it. I've sat down with the heads of Visit Britain and said, look, ultimately, if we get rid of the monarchy, is there any evidence tourism will go down? And they said, no, of course there isn't. And there isn't. It is not a little country that's been put on the map by the royal family. It's a little royal family in a very big, very exciting country that puts ourselves on the map. We're put on the map by all the millions of ordinary people that work hard to promote tourism, to promote our industry and our business. We're one of the largest economies in the world, which has nothing to do with the people that live in Buckingham Palace.
Isn't your evidence just anecdotal?
Do you know, I think that if you look at just our movie industry alone and look at the number of visitors that come in, the visitors to Buckingham Palace, these people don't visit Windsor Castle and Buckingham Palace and all the other royal buildings because they are buildings. They go there because the history associated with them. We have thousands of years of royal history in this country that other countries have thrown away. They've abandoned.
You can't get rid of your history.
You can actually get rid of your royal family,
yes,
which is what many countries have done. Do they have the amount of tourism and interest that we do?
You think France doesn't?
Well,
of course it does. France has a huge tourism industry. We don't need... I mean, you don't have to look... I mean, the tourism argument is a bit pointless.
They don't have the tourism based around their royal family.
The tourism argument is a bit pointless because this is actually about politics and power. This is an institution that's part of our political system. It gives power to our ministers and to civil servants, to the Privy Council. Ministers can make laws. There's power vested in the royals. You know, Charles can influence legislation, can lobby behind closed doors in secret. These are the issues of power and politics which really completely, make the tourism argument rather vacuous. And again, there's no evidence that we would lose a shred of tourism revenue if the royals weren't living in those houses. The history would still be there, the palaces would still be there, the crowds would still be there.
But as much as you'd like, we're not going to get a republic anytime soon. So if we're
because
looking...
British people don't want it.
Right, well, so you say, and you say against it. But if we're looking at the royal household as it stands, Nadine Dorries, I mean, you were the one who said to posh boys who didn't know the price of milk, shouldn't people like the royal family cut their cloth in the same way that everybody else has had to?
I believe they have. I believe they've made year-on-year cost savings in the royal family. They've been cutting their cloth every time there's a PAC report, every time there's an analysis of their budget. They make savings. Now, they may in real terms, in terms of their cost, go up. But, you know, I heard the argument this morning, the cost of keeping the royal family secure and protected. I have no complaint with that. And I am sure that there are many millions of British people who have no complaint whatsoever with ensuring that the royal family are kept as secure as possible.
Is hugely overinflated by the fact that we're protecting not just the headline figures, the people that we see on the news, but people that no one's ever heard of, such as Princess Alexandria. But also, you know, there are no savings. It's all
There have been
questionable.
savings, there have been
No one's
savings
ever
made.
heard of.
Even the Public Accounts Committee say there have been some savings
But
made, just not enough.
Savings within the very narrow remit of that one sovereign support grant, which is always going to go up because it's not pegged to what they need, it's pegged to property values, which is a bit of a nonsense. But when we look at Prince Charles, who spent £30,000 of public money on a 4-day private holiday to Scotland, that's the kind of waste that if an MP did that, they would be in jail. So why are we not challenging the royals in the same way that MPs were challenged over their expenses?
What about opening up Buckingham Palace more? That was one of the suggestions. You mentioned the Tower of London, which is opened, I presume, most of the year. Couldn't Buckingham Palace be opened significantly more, and that would raise much needed funds to repair the boiler in 3 to 5 years' time?
I have no issue with that, and I'm sure that's a discussion which is based around practicalities, such as security when the royal family are in residence and other issues. And that's something for PAC and those other organisations who deal,
So you
committees
agree
who
savings
deal
can
with
be
that.
made, and
I
more
think
money,
some
they
could
could
be
generate
made.
more
But what
money.
I am totally against is this out and out yearly attack of the royal family because of who they are. They are
It's not
great
because
for
of who-
Britain. The British
that's-
people
that's an
love
opinion,
them.
but
Look at the wedding.
9 years ago, MPs told the palace, we want you to open up to tourists all year round, and they simply said no. So it's
I think
time
all
that the
year
government
round
says...
would be ridiculous.
the
It is
government-
their home.
No, it's,
Those are
come on,
ridiculous
it's not their
requests.
home, it's the headquarters, it's the office. It's in the same way that the Vatican is the headquarters of the Pope and the White House is the headquarters of the President. Those buildings are open all year round to tourists. We can have millions of people flooding through those gates, paying for the upkeep through ticket sales.
How much
It's
do you
not
think
difficult
Britain
to do.
benefited from the Jubilee, from the royal wedding, and from other royal events that take place
But the
in
figures
the
showed
UK?
that-
How many people do you think actually indirectly benefit from us having a royal
The
family?
CBI said that an extra public holiday wiped £6 billion off the economy, and tourism figures went down on year on both occasions. So there's no evidence that those benefited the economy or tourism.
Tourism figures on an annual basis, but because most people came to Britain for those events. I think that your
numbers were down
Well,
for
hang
those
on.
events.
We're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much.
you.
There was no events to compare them with.